Hi there, and welcome to Getting Started with iCR for Java on Azure. My name is Charlie Bedard, and in this video, I will show you how to subscribe to iCR for Java, authorize developers, and access the navigator. I assume that you are already familiar with the iCR workflow. If not, I recommend that you look at our video, Introduction to Intelligent Code Repair for Java, for a helpful overview. You can get a link to that video on OpenRefactory's website or from the Azure Marketplace listing. These are the steps we will review in this tutorial. We will start with the Marketplace listing. From there, we can create a new virtual machine instance that will execute iCR for Java. We will walk through a few configuration values you need to select. Then we will connect to the iCR Navigator and walk through the version control system's authorization. After that, iCR for Java is available for analyzing and repairing your Java projects. Let's go through all these steps together. We'll start at the Azure Marketplace listing. iCR for Java is offered on Azure under the Microsoft Standard Agreement. You may want to review the terms and conditions for that agreement. Continuing implies that you have reviewed and are in agreement with it. If you are OK, click on Create to begin the configuration. You can name your virtual machine here. In our example, we will call the VM Example VM for iCR. Note that when you name your VM, a new resource group is created using that name. Your default region is set by your Azure account, but you can change regions if you like. This may be helpful if the majority of the developer team is located in geographically distant locations. The image and machine size to be used is decided for you by the offering. Since iCR for Java is CPU and memory intensive, only a few high-performance instance types are currently offered. This makes sure that the virtual machine will have sufficient power to analyze and repair your projects efficiently, lowering your usage time. The next step is to assign an SSH key pair to this VM to enable you to log into your instance. Note that the default username for logging in is Azure User. OpenRefactory recommends keeping this as your default username. You can create a new SSH pair if you wish, or you may already have a key pair available, which you could choose. In our example, we'll use a key pair that we have created earlier. With the basic configuration done, we can move on to adding disk storage to the VM. Click on the Next Disks button to move to this step. For the OS disk type, you can select standard SSD to save cost. This storage is used to hold the iCR software and its results. However, the analysis engine does need a large amount of temporary storage for its processing, and speed here is important. To configure this, click on Create and attach a new disk. Note that the name of your new disk is created for you based upon your VM name. OpenRefactory recommends choosing at least 100 gigabytes of premium SSD for this storage, as the analysis produces a lot of metadata. To set this, click on Change Size. In our example, we choose a 128 gigabyte premium SSD device. Then click on OK. Seeing that the additional disk drive is set OK, we can click on Next Networking to continue. The VM is assigned a default security group set by the offering. It opens only those ports needed by iCR. If you need additional ports opened, you may want to use your own customized security group. If so, refer to the user guide to see the ports that are needed by iCR. iCR for Java does not need to configure any values for management, advanced, or tags, so we step through these without any changes. Finally, click on Review plus Create to check your configuration. After making sure that you are happy with the configuration, click on Create to launch your new virtual machine running iCR for Java. The creation of the VM takes a few minutes. When ready, you see the acknowledgement that the deployment of your VM is complete. Click on the Go to Resource at the bottom of this page to see your running VM. All the information you need to know about your VM is shown here. Most important is the public IP address for your instance. You will need that to access your VM and to authorize iCR for Java access to your cloud-based repository. With the VM configuration complete, let's look at the next phase. This is the step where we authorize the iCR server to connect to your cloud-based repository and allow it to retrieve repository contents from them. Let's look at how we do this using GitHub. We will configure GitHub to allow login redirects using the OAuth standard. OAuth is a well-accepted industry protocol that authorizes a service, like iCR for Java, to redirect login requests from a third party. It also authorizes the third party, assuming the redirected credentials are authenticated, to access that user's repositories. We'll look at how this is done using GitHub. GitLab and Bitbucket are similar and are described in our user guide. To get to the OAuth page, log in to GitHub and pull down the User menu to see Settings. From Settings, click on Developer Settings, and then choose OAuth Apps. Clicking on New OAuth App allows you to add your new VM server to the list of approved apps. You can name the application as you wish. The key items are the homepage URL and the callback URL. Here is where you need your public IP address. In this example, we will use the IP address that was assigned earlier. We'll copy it from the resource page. The homepage URL is the IP address followed by port 3002. The callback URL is the IP address and port followed by the text /login/github/return. With that data entered, click on Register Application. That will authorize your instance for use with OAuth and provide you with the client ID and client secret. These are used to match your VM instance with GitHub to complete the protocol. With the IP address registered and the client ID and secret ready, we'll keep this window around as we will need it shortly. The final phase of getting started is using your browser to connect to the iCR for Java Navigator. You use the public IP address to access the Navigator for the first time, where you will complete the OAuth handshake with GitHub and be ready to analyze your projects. Let's connect to the Navigator using our public IP address. This takes you to the passphrase page. Since we are using a public IP address to reach the server, it is possible that non-authorized people might attempt to access your instance. The security passphrase is used to block non-authorized access. The default passphrase is the string defined in the user guide. Once you gain access, you are prompted to change the passphrase to something you can share with your developers. With access granted, you can select your chosen cloud-based source code repository. Since we have been using GitHub as our example, we select GitHub. The first time that the Navigator accesses GitHub, it will prompt you to complete the OAuth handshake by requesting the client ID and secret. Enter the client ID and secret from the other page. After the handshake is complete, the first GitHub user to use the Navigator will be prompted to confirm that iCR for Java is the application which will be accessing GitHub. Click on Authorize, and everything is now ready. Selecting GitHub again shows all of your available repositories. You can now begin your first project analysis. So, now you know how to select iCR for Java using the Azure Marketplace, how to configure it, and how to launch it successfully. You may want to check out our other tutorials on how to initiate and monitor an analysis, and on how to review and process results from our website, www.openrefactory.com. There, you will also find our user guide, which is a helpful reference. Thanks for watching.